we're now seeing lots of organized efforts of protest. And, you know, this is a fine line. You know, in America, one of our fundamental beliefs is the ability to offer different perspectives, be respectful to different points of view. But yet it seems a bit challenging now. And how do you referee and manage that as you see these well-organized groups presenting in a way that's disruptive to the city, seems to suggest that they're not focused, that they're not interested in public safety and respect for others? What's the right way for the policy and then the police to think about this? And I'm going to ask you in the city, and I think we also have an issue that you alluded to on campuses. And so maybe if you could comment on those, that would be appreciated.
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. And I'm not certain there's an absolute right way. I think you have to be flexible. I think it depends a lot on what the demonstrators do, of course. You know, I don't think you should be allowed to take over a bridge. I don't think you should be allowed to block the FDR, which they've done. They did that under the past administration. You have to be willing to make arrests when there are clear violations of other people's rights. You know, there's a battalion of lawyers that are go to these demonstrations on both sides. You know, so there's a lot of legal advice as to what to do and when to do it. But there are recent court decisions, by the way. I think it's been finalized, and it requires, first of all, puts in place a oversight committee of 5 people, only one from the police department, on how to handle demonstrations. This, just by definition, is going to be problematic, you know, because it's going to slow down the reaction. One of the issues was kettling. It's an expression that is probably made up by a plaintiff's lawyer. I had never heard it before, but kettling is basically going behind demonstrators and moving in and arresting them. But if you want to arrest someone, let's say you've got observation posts and say, look at that guy, he just threw a Molotov cocktail. Okay, we want to arrest that guy, and that guy. You have to come around behind them. You just can't let it. So kettling is forbidden. You can't go around it, which makes no sense, you know, because ultimately you're going to have to at least have the capacity to take certain people into custody. So it is a it's not an easy area. It is something that requires judgment on the part of the field commanders. I think we have lately allowed demonstrators to go too far. You know, if you're trying to get to work and you're tied up 5 hours or something like that in traffic, I mean, those people have rights.
Well, I think everyone should feel comfortable. When I worked in the same administration as Ray, I saw Ray one morning at City Hall, and this was during the time of Occupy Wall Street. So, and they had taken over the park downtown. And so I said to Ray, how many people were in the park last night and what's going on? And Ray said, well, there were about 160 people. 16 or 17 of them were our people that I put into the Occupy Wall Street group to know what was going on. And so that gave me a real sigh of relief to know that he had his hand on the pulse, and that's kind of the equivalent of being behind them as being among them. So I thought that was an example of smart policing that I felt more safe because of it and kind of being on top of things.
But as I said, there are a lot of lawyers at these demonstrations, and certainly the police department has their cadre of lawyers. So there's a lot of that type of discussion that goes on at a demonstration. Should they be allowed to do this? What about blocking that street? That sort of thing.
Well, I'm going to ask one more question, then I'll invite others. But I think, do you have, I think another one of these, I like the word you said, is there's not a cookbook. You have to be flexible and kind of monitor the situation and see what's required at the time. How about campuses today and what's going on there? Because as you said, there are certain things that we shouldn't have. You shouldn't block bridges, you shouldn't block highways and impede people's daily lives. How about on campuses? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's a real problem, and I talked about it before. I'm not going to name them specifically because I did this study 3 years ago. They may have changed, they may have got, I'm not 100% certain, but there was radio silence on the part of administrations, sort of universally, as far as Jewish students' complaints are concerned. Let's say Hillel, it is a Jewish campus organization, national one. They'll have an event, or they'll have informational tables. Many of the members of Students for Justice in Palestine will come, will shout, will try to shout them down. As I said before, throw pamphlets on the floor, just try to create mayhem and try to create physical contact. Want them to fight. Now there are almost 200 chapters of Students for Justice in Palestine in the United States. That is saturation, on college campuses. Now, I can't say with certainty if this type of disruption is going on in all of these campuses, but it's going on here. It's going on in New York, and no question about it. No response, or if there is a response, it's a very lukewarm response, and I felt quite bad for the Jewish students. They had to look over their shoulder all the time,